Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Melanie, for those that are new here, and this is my first installment episode, I don't know what you call them, of Magical Mondays. So one of the things I wanted to share on here was just some of my tips and tricks of a lifetime of coming to Disney. I had friends come from out of state and they called me asking kind of to share all my tips, what I do, what would I recommend for a day at Disney, how to make sure they had a good time. And then when they were done, they called me, they were like, you need to share this with other people. Those were great tips. And so here I am, sharing them with other people. And I'm going to start with my top 3 tips for how to have a magical day at the Walt Disney World theme parks. And of course, we're starting with tip number 1, which is do not. This is going to be the hardest tip to follow, but also one that I really strongly believe in. Do not try to fit all 4 parks into one day. I get it, if you're only coming for one day, you may really want to try to accomplish that, but especially if it's your first time coming and you're trying to get a big trip in and do everything without making your day miserable, do not do 4 parks in one day. At least pick one park that you feel like you can skip for now and save for another time, because I promise you it will be so much better if you do that. Really, I would recommend picking 2 parks that you really want to do and using a whole day to get the most out of each park. But if you want to try and fit in as many parks as possible, do 3, skip 1. My recommendation for ones to skip, if it's your first time here, would be skipping Epcot. Unless you're doing an adults only trip, then by all means, make sure you do Epcot if you're coming during a food and wine festival, flower and garden, all of that. But if you're coming with kids, Epcot can kind of be left off. The other one, it's just going to depend on what your priorities are as to what you want to hit. If you're coming with kids, Magic Kingdom is a must-do because there's just so much here for them to do. Whereas the other parks don't have as many ride options for littler kids. So Magic Kingdom's a great way to get in. Roller coasters if you want to, but all of the fun Disney rides that you can. Once you're done with Magic Kingdom, go to one of the other parks. Again, if you're coming with little kids, I really recommend Animal Kingdom. It's just a great park for young families. The animals are great. There's a lot of walking things that are fun to do. And then I still call it MGM, but Hollywood Studios is one of my favorite parks. They've got the Toy Story Land, Star Wars. If you are a Star Wars fan, that needs to be on your list, so do not take it off. But if you're planning to do Star Wars as a top priority, I would head there first. Go there first, make sure you get your boarding times, get on the Star Wars rides, do those first thing, like open the park first thing, which I'm also not usually like a open the parker, but I am also an annual pass holder and I live in Florida. So we've only opened the park in recent years one time, and that was to do the Star Wars ride when it was first open and you had to get there super early to even get a boarding pass for the day at all. When we got there, it was 7 a.m. and our boarding time wasn't until 2. That's now changed, but definitely check in on that. So if Star Wars is your priority, hit that up first. But like I said, 4 parks, I wouldn't do it. It just makes the day so rushed, and by the end of it, you're going to be probably fighting with whoever you came with, and you're going to be miserable. So it doesn't mean the whole day was misery, but your end of the day is probably not going to be as spectacular fireworks as you would like it to be. So that's just my number 1 tip. Again, obviously, I've now talked about this for 4 minutes. So I would recommend not doing 4 parks in one day. Tip number 2 is to come with very reasonable expectations. Not low expectations, but chances are you're coming to Disney, you've planned the perfect trip, your expectations are high, especially if it's 1, your first trip, or 2, you haven't been back in a while. I had not been back since pre-2020, And when I came back this year, I was expecting crowds to be lower. Just, I don't know why I was expecting that, but crowds are higher than ever. So you're dealing with a lot of people. Lines are going to be long. Even if you're keeping your cool, you're having a good time, somebody next to you might not be, and it can very easily carry over into your good time if you're trying to deal with grumpy people in lines, or you weren't expecting to wait in lines as long as they are. I'm currently here on a Wednesday. School in Florida is technically still in session, but it is getting out for some other, there's private schools are out, some schools are out, but it's a middle of the day on a Wednesday, and lines are anywhere from 80 minutes and up. The lowest I've seen for a line is 20 minutes. The show's 5-minute waits, so those aren't bad, but it's still super crowded in the middle of the week. And you just need to come in knowing that it's hot. I am sweating right now, and hot kids can become grumpy kids really quickly, or hot adults can be grumpy adults really quickly. People get hangry. Just know that keeping your expectations reasonable and being prepared for things to change up, or having to change things on a dime. If, let's say, you had planned to go on Peter Pan, but Peter Pan's 120 minutes and no one in your group wants to wait 120 minutes, you might need to change it up. And so you just need to know that having a reasonable expectation to know that things may not go as perfectly, magically wonderful as they can will really actually help you have a very magical day. And tip number 3 is to eat, drink, hydrate, and be merry. Because the last thing you want for a day at Disney is a hangry person. Trust me, I've been that hangry person, and my husband doesn't love it. So I highly recommend getting the refillable popcorn. Make sure you eat lunch if you need to, but if you have the refillable popcorn on hand and just constantly make sure it's full, if anybody does get close to hangry, just give them some popcorn until you can find a meal. Here you can see the current prices for the regular souvenir bucket. Refills are currently $2.25, but the best thing about this is that it is always refillable. Not only do you have a cute keepsake, but you can bring this same bucket back even years from now and get a refill at whatever the current refill price is. And now that you have your popcorn, you should also make sure you hydrate. Whether you bring a water bottle with you or you get water here in the park, you always have access to free water at any of the restaurants or refreshment stands that have a soda machine. There are also spots to refill either your bottle or your cup throughout the parks, like here at Cinderella's Fountain in Magic Kingdom. One more little tidbit, if you are going to do a full day in the parks, you're trying to fit in as many parks as possible, if you're rope dropping Magic Kingdom, and you're trying to hit Peter Pan at all or Jungle Cruise, one of those two things at the moment should be your number one priority. When the rope drops, you head either to Jungle Cruise first, if that's your priority, Peter Pan first, if that's your priority, and then I would flip-flop and do the other if you're wanting to hit them both. Because right now, well, always, Peter Pan is always the longest line at Magic Kingdom. But right now, Jungle Cruise is actually close to matching it, which isn't typically the case. And I don't know if it's because people are worried it's going to be gone, because there have been rumors that they're going to get rid of it, or if it's because of the new movie with The Rock. But that is currently my recommendation for rope dropping Magic Kingdom, Peter Pan, or Jungle Cruise. And then from there, kind of plan your day accordingly based on priorities and timelines for rides. There are no more fast passes. Lightning Lane is an option, but you have to pay more for that, and I don't know all of how that works yet because I haven't done it. But that will be a video at some point when I actually go down that line. And that's it for my first installment of Magical Mondays. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, or you found it helpful, I would love it if you would give it a big thumbs up and click subscribe. Have a magical day, everyone!